Have you ever plugged your guitar into an amplifier and thought, holy crap, this thing sounds like pure garbage. I don't know why anybody would like this amplifier. Now, I've definitely been in that situation a few times, and I'm sure a lot of you have as well. But there's something to consider here. Is it really the amplifier's fault, or maybe it's your pickups? Alright, so as you know, I bought this Schecter C7 Elite with the Fishman Fluence Modern pickups in it about a month ago, just over a month ago. And when I first got it, I was really impressed with the fit and finish of the guitar. It looks great, it actually plays really well, and I love all of the features on this guitar. So I have zero complaints when it comes to the quality of this guitar. And when I was looking at this guitar and I found out it had the Fishman Fluence Moderns in it, I thought, well, why not give them a try? I've heard a lot of good things about them, and I was really looking forward to checking them out and seeing how they sounded. And you saw my first impressions video of the guitar when I shot it out with my Majesty Monarchy series guitar. And at first I noticed that the pickup sounded different, but as I got to know the guitar and played it more and more with all of my amps, I really started noticing a huge difference in the way this guitar sounded and felt, especially when I compared it to the Majesty Monarchy series guitar. I mean, the pickups in that guitar are amazing. They're about as perfect as you can get, in my opinion. They're the DiMarzio Sonic Ecstasy pickups, and I have never played a guitar with better pickups than those. So what I noticed when I started playing this guitar with all of my amplifiers is it gelled with some amplifiers better than others. Unlike the Majesty Monarchy series guitar, that guitar gels perfectly with every single amp that I have. I mean, I have no consistency issues at all with that guitar. It just sounds great through every single amp here, and I have 16 amps and it sounds awesome through all of them. Not so with the Schecter and the Fishman Fluence Moderns. I mean, these pickups are very specific on what amps they sound good in. Now, this is all based on my opinion, but I can tell you for sure there is a major difference between these pickups and the pickups in my Majesty guitar. And what I'm hearing is this horrible honk in a lot of my amps with this guitar. And it's especially apparent in my more aggressive amplifiers. So on the darker, more thicker, fatter kind of amps, you don't notice it as much, even though you do still notice it. But on my more aggressive amplifiers, you definitely hear the honk in these pickups. I mean, it's super annoying, to be honest with you. And I have really gotten to the point where I actually
hate, double hate, loathe entirely
these freaking pickups, and this guitar is actually getting sent back to the store because I just can't stand the way these pickups sound anymore. So yes, the honeymoon phase with this guitar and especially these pickups is definitely over. Again, I think the guitar is amazing. It's a really good guitar. It plays very well. I have zero complaints about the fit and finish of this guitar. It's a really good guitar. I just hate the pickups. And the amount of work it would take to take these pickups out and all the electronics associated with these pickups and put different pickups back in just isn't worth it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and send it back and get something else with pickups that are more suitable to my taste and sound a little more even-keeled and will have a consistently good sound with all of my amplifiers. So before we move on in the video and compare these pickups with the pickups in my Majesty and show you the vast difference in tones that you get out of these and several different amplifiers in and out of a mix, let's take a trip down memory lane and look back on the moments that I've had with the Schecter C7 Elite and some of the memories that we've had together before I send this guitar back to the store and say goodbye. man, those were some precious moments we had together. It's really sad that it had to end, but we'll have to see what the future holds. Hopefully I'll get another guitar that will be more suitable to my taste. We'll see. Alright, so let's get on with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the same riff with both of these guitars through a few of my amplifiers, and I'm going to line the clips up so that they're right next to each other so that you can hear the tonal differences between these pickups even though they're going through the same amplifier. And depending on the amplifier, that tonal difference can be stark or subtle, but you'll definitely hear a difference no matter what amplifier I play these guitars through. And the amps I'm going to use are the KSR Aries, the MESA Boogie Badlander, the EVH Stealth 100, and the Rev Generator 120 Mark III, and I'm going to be using the purple channel on that amplifier. And I'll also be doing two mixes for you. That way you can see if you can hear the difference between both of these guitars when played on the same amplifier in a full mix. So let's get started with the riffs right now on the MESA Boogie Badlander. Alright, so the difference between these pickups on the Badlander is extremely obvious. Now here's the thing, if I just owned the Schecter C7 or any other guitar with the Fishman Fluence Moderns in it, I would hate the Badlander. I would never buy that amplifier. I would literally think that amplifier sounded like crap. I would think it sounded sterile and had no low end, and it had this horrible half-cocked wah sound to it. And honestly, none of that is true. That amplifier sounds amazing. It's got plenty of aggression, it has great tone, plenty of low end, and it has a really great voicing on it. And it does not have a half-cocked wah sound to it at all. The problem is definitely with the pickups and not the amplifier. So on that amplifier, because it's a really chiseled amp, I mean there's really no wasted frequencies in that amplifier at all. It's just very refined, and the voicing is really modern. And when you pair it with pickups that have a lot of really extra frequencies that they're pushing, it's really going to come through on an amplifier like the Badlander, because it just lets all that stuff come through, because again, it's a very refined and fine-tuned amplifier. I mean, they have really chiseled that tone right down to there's no extra frequencies in that amplifier at all. It's just really, really straightforward. And because of that, you're really going to hear the sound of your pickups on that amplifier more than you would on others. And depending on your pickups, that's a good or a bad thing. So if you have the Fishman Fluence Moderns in your guitar and you have my taste in tones, you're going to hate the Badlander. So I would say that if you're going to play a Badlander, get more even-keeled pickups. Now regarding the feel, I thought that playing the Fishman Moderns through the Badlander made the amp feel terrible. It felt lifeless and sterile. It almost made me feel like I was playing a modeler as opposed to a real tube amp when I played those pickups. But with this guitar and the passive pickups that are in it and the way that they're voiced and designed, I felt like I was playing a real tube amp. I mean, everything felt great. Again, there was plenty of low end and punch, and there's more even-keeled frequencies coming out of the amplifier, and it had a great feel to it. So I enjoyed playing the amp as much as I did listening to it with this guitar. So now let's hear the Badlander in a mix with both guitars, and let's just see if we can hear the difference. And what I'm going to do is edit the song so that you can hear the guitars right up against each other in the same song. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so to me, when I was playing these guitars, even in the full mix, I noticed a really big difference, both in the sound and in the feel. With this guitar, I mean, it feels great to play as far as ergonomics and the way the guitar is built, but as soon as you incorporate the pickups, I literally felt like I was playing a sterile modeler. It just had this really sterile, unreactive, lifeless feel to it, and I just couldn't get into it. And like I was saying, the more I play through these pickups, the more I just don't like them. They're just lifeless. I feel like I'm playing a modeler. There's a stiffness there. There's not nearly the kind of low end and dig, like that chewy, nice dig I get with the pick and the strings. You know, it's just that interaction's just gone. I just feel it feels lifeless and sterile. I know I keep using those words, but those are the first words that come to my mind when I think of the Fishman Fluence Moderns. When I'm playing my Majesty with the Sonic Ecstasy pickups, and again, those are passive pickups. I mean, with the pickups in the Majesty, because they're passive, I'm getting a better feel because I'm playing pickups that have actual windings and magnets in them. And there's a lot of things involved that are like natural materials that are interacting with the amplifier. And with these pickups, you got a computer chip and I don't know, some other electronics and stuff that's going on with these. And there's just this element of fake going on here. And it's really driving me nuts. And let me just say this before I go on. If you like these pickups, please don't be offended by what I'm saying. This is just my opinion. And it's my opinion based on playing a guitar with actual, like, passive pickups in it for a long time. And I've given myself a month to adjust to these, but I just can't. I mean, the more I play them, the more I just learn that I just not cut out to play active pickups, or at least these active pickups. So again, don't be offended by my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people are watching this video going, oh, you're nuts, man. They're awesome. The challenge that I would have for you is try a guitar with good passive pickups in it for a while, and then go back to these, and you'll definitely hear a difference and feel a difference. And I'm thinking that most of you will get off the hype train with these types of pickups, or at least this specific set of pickups, and at least switch to a different type of active pickup or go back to passives altogether. And I know a lot of people that have gone from passives to actives and then from actives right back to passives again because, you know, the hype train ended pretty quick with them and they found themselves right back to going, I love how passive pickups sound and feel much better. So I challenge you to do that before you think I'm totally crazy. But feel free to leave your comments below and tell me if you agree or disagree with me, and tell me what other pickups you've tried that you would suggest for me to try in the future. Alright, so now let's try a more fatter, juicier amp like the KSR, and let's see if there's a big difference in sound between these two types of pickups on that type of amplifier. So what I noticed right away is the KSR Aries sounded thicker and beefier with the pickups in the Majesty. And with the Fishman pickups in the Schecter, it just sounded a little more top-endy and less low-end and less full with it. So depending on your taste, you'll sway one way or another with these pickups, but I feel like I'm swaying more towards the passive pickups that are in this guitar with even the KSR Aries amplifier. So now let's hear how they compare in a mix and see if you can hear the difference in a full mix. All right, so in a full mix, I think with the KSR, both of these guitars sound pretty damn good, to be honest with you. I mean, there's definitely a difference, but I didn't hear that big of a difference in the voicing like I did with the Badlander, especially in a full mix when I played through a thicker, beefier amp like the KSR Aries. Now, that said, I still got that little bit of a half-cocked wah sound with the Fishman Fluence pickups on the C7, but it was a little more tame, especially when I played it through the KSR in a full mix. So do I still prefer the passive DiMarzio pickups that are in the Majesty even when I'm playing through the KSR in a full mix? Yes, I still do. I just think the amp felt better and we listened with our hands. So if you have a better feel, it's definitely going to make you like something better. And I feel with the pickups on the Majesty, the amp sounded and felt better to me overall. Alright, so before we end the video, I'm going to play some riffs outside of a mix with both guitars on 2 more amplifiers for you, and then we'll call it a day. Alright, so on the Rev, I still preferred the pickups that I had on the Majesty. It just sounded beefier and thicker, you know, it just had this really nice thickness to it. And if I wanted a little more attack, I could adjust my overdrive pedal and just crank the tone knob on it, and it would give me a little more attack. And the feel was really great. I really loved how the amp felt with these pickups. Again, I'm having this really great interactive feel with these pickups on all of these amps, as opposed to the feeling that I'm getting with the Fishman Fluence Moderns. I feel like I'm playing a modeler when I play through those pickups. Even though I'm playing through an amp, it has this sterile modeler feel. It's really weird, it's hard to put in words, and those are the best words that I can come up with. Now, because the Rev Mark III is so thick and beefy, it definitely hides a little bit of that half-cocked wah thing that I'm getting out of the Fishmans, but it's still there, and it's one of those things that once you hear it, you can't unhear it. It's always there to some degree on all of these amplifiers. On some amplifiers, it's a lot more noticeable than it is on others, but it's always there nonetheless. Alright, so one more amp. Let's see how these guitars compare when I play them through the blue channel on one of my favorite amplifiers, which is the EVH Stealth 100. Alright, so with the EVH Stealth 100, I noticed a really big difference between the pickups in these guitars, and I very much preferred the pickups that are in the Majesty. I really heard the half-cocked wah coming through big time on that amplifier as well, just like I did on the Badlander. So it seems like the more aggressive the amplifier, the more you can hear that weird sound that these pickups have come out of it. And maybe like with the thicker, slightly less aggressive amplifiers, you're not going to hear a big of a difference between the pickups in this guitar and in the Majesty. But like I said earlier, there's still a noticeable difference between these pickups and these guitars no matter what amp I play them through. It's just some are more noticeable than others. So if I had just this guitar with just these pickups, and that was the only guitar that I played and the only pickups that I played, I might buy the Rev, and I would definitely buy the KSR, but I would definitely not buy the Stealth or the Badlander if I just played this guitar with these pickups. Now, with the pickups that are in the Majesty, I would buy all of these amps, no problem. I did. I own all these amps, and I bought them and played the Majesty through them the whole time and loved all of these amplifiers. So, I guess the moral of this story is, if you want to like more amplifiers, I would suggest getting more even-keeled pickups. Get some pickups that have a better EQ sweep on them and that don't have that weird mid-honk on them. And look at the graph that's associated with the EQ sweep on these Fishmans and compare that to other graphs that are associated with other pickups out there, and you'll see a very big difference in how the EQ curve is on these pickups versus other ones. And I'm just saying, this is my opinion, but I would avoid the voicing of these pickups if you want to have a better selection of amplifiers out there that you would like. Well, this guitar is definitely going back, and I'm going to exchange it for something else that is going to be more suitable to my taste, so stay tuned to the channel for that. Hopefully that will be here within the next few weeks, depending on, inventory. And I'm definitely going to be shooting that guitar out with the Majesty guitars, because these are my favorite guitars. These guitars, in my opinion, could do no wrong. They sound amazing through every single amp that I play them through, and they just have a very consistent sound to them, where, again, with these pickups and this guitar, very inconsistent sound. Extremely inconsistent. So I really hope that you got something out of this video. I'm glad I bought this guitar. I have no regrets because I learned a lot. This guitar has taught me a lot. It's taught me that Schecter builds great guitars. It is a really nice looking guitar. I love all the features. I just can't stand the pickups, and that's why I'm sending it back. So like I said earlier in the video, please don't be offended if I'm getting a little harsh on these pickups and you own them. If you like them, then you made the right choice for you. I'm just saying, for me, they just don't work with most of my amps here anyways, and to my taste. Alright, so to all my Patreon supporters and subscribers, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and click the bell so that you can be notified every time I come out with a new episode or go live. We go live every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock and every Sunday night at 7. Carrie joins me, and we have a great hang with you guys. She performs, I perform, we talk about all kinds of gear-related things, and just have a really good time with you guys. So hopefully you'll be able to hang with us on one of those as well. Well, again, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and like I always say, I got a lot of great stuff coming up, and I'll see you on the next one.